Hi, welcome everyone to this week's session. So I wanted to do a two-part series. So for anyone that is joining new, my name is Angela. I'm a virtual event sales expert. So as you see, I have Josephine with me this week as well. And if you haven't watched last week's training, I really recommend you to go back because we talk about Josephine's masterclass that we held some weeks ago, where we organically generated 350 people. And we talked about the keys components in how we could generate that amount of organic leads for that masterclass last week. And the other reason why her masterclass was so successful is the way that we did the presentation. So today's session is going to be more about focusing on the presentation in itself than in the sign up. So if you're interested in the sign up, make sure go back and watch that video. Okay. So welcome, Josephine. For anyone that you are new to this space, can you just please kind of share a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so my name is Josefine Wanner. I'm a former corporate executive turned entrepreneur and business growth strategist. And I help my clients to build and optimize their online offer so that they can sell one to many. So that is essentially what I'm doing. I help mainly coaches, consultants, course creators, and service providers.
Yeah, and we actually, so this is one thing that I want to mention as well. I help my clients do signature events, but the masterclasses we talked about, because this can inspire, it was a brand new masterclass. You haven't taught that topic. It was a brand new offer. It's actually not created, right? Before when we run the masterclass. So I want you to have that kind of back in your hand, because I know that a lot of you that are watching now might not even have an offer or think that you need so many things kind of ready before you do this. And you might have held massive amount of different kind of masterclass webinars and jump all over the place. The key to run this successfully is signature. You run the same thing over and over, so you master that masterclass or that webinar. That is one of the things that I really want you to understand. So the ones that we talk about was a new masterclass for Josephine, the first time she ever run it. Okay, so I have kind of written down the three, I think it's three, or maybe it's four, I think it's three biggest things that we did when it comes to the presentation, because the old ways that presentations was done in webinars and masterclasses just doesn't cut it anymore. Okay, if you look online, there is first of all massive amount of information, right? You have the accessibility of information online is massive since we have AI, right? So the way that you need to understand how to do presentations have shifted compared to how we did it before. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about when it comes to your masterclass, Josephine, is the storytelling part, because storytelling has become massive. And I'm not talking about the stories, how you grew up in what house and things that's kind of is not relevant. It's relevant stories for your dream client. So can you share a little bit about how you incorporated storytelling in your presentation, the one that you held now?
Absolutely. And I think maybe before I go into that, a big key, because this wasn't the first time, even though this was the first topic for me, the first time we ran this particular masterclass, it wasn't the first time that I have held an event in general. And I think the biggest mistakes I've done in the past is I've shared way too much. I've been sharing way too much. So when we looked into the whole storytelling about the whole piece of what story, or what is it, first of all, what is it that we want to give with them? What is it that we want them to, take with them in the end? Where do we want to lead them? But then, and how does my story fit into this perspective? It's like you really challenged me on that, Angela. You said, I don't get it. Why is this relevant for me? Why is this relevant for the audience? Why is this particular story relevant for them? Because you really want to build a kind of like a connection between kind of like, first of all, who you are, but also why are you the best person to teach them this? Kind of like, what is your story and how does that fit in? And as you say, it might, depending on what it is that you want to teach, depending on what it is that you're selling in the end, it might be relevant to share where you grew up. But in my story, it wasn't really relevant, right? So to really and I don't think I had that in the original part either, but it was like, okay, so what is the piece about the story, and how does that kind of like move into, how does that fit together with the whole, and I mean, we've both been to events where it's been like 40 minutes their own story, 5 minutes about teaching, and then kind of like 20 minutes pitch, right? And that is not how to do it, right? So it's like building the whole story from the beginning until the end. That is the whole storytelling, to make it fit.
Yeah, and one of the things that was done in webinars is the storytelling part was always kind of a piece inside of the webinar where people share the entire upbringing, whatever. It might be relevant, but it might be not. In your case, it's not. That is not where you are going to connect the best with your audience, right? So you want to understand what parts of my stories is relevant for the audience, but also in the way that you kind of talk about it, because now one of the biggest shifts that have made is that people now invest in your stories, in your conviction, in you, because of the massive amount of information that is available out there. They really want to understand why you are the best person to lead them from where they are to where they want to go. And that is not done in a 2-3 minutes just once. Its entire presentation needs to tie back to your own beliefs, to your own conviction, to your own stories in the way that you inspire them to take action at the end, right? So a huge part is to understand, and this I'm going to say, when it comes to presentation, it's not going to be perfect the first time. Okay, that is why the signature part, to run the reps of this, is going to be the biggest key to why these are successful. If you run one webinar and then, yeah, it didn't convert the way you wanted and you felt awkward, whatever, so you say webinars doesn't work, that is your first biggest mistake, because you need to understand this takes time. And Josefine have had a massive amount of practice behind, because you have run events a long time, right? So you need also to give your time to be good at storytelling. But the shift is in the storytelling is the key parts to really understand what in my stories could be relevant, inspire my dream client, and not everybody else, my specific dream client, and leave the rest out that is not relevant. And as you say, I've been to webinars that was 25 minutes them talking about themselves, right? Your webinar is not for you. Okay, just gonna say it. It's not for you. It's for your audience. It's not for you to sit there and brag. It's not for you to sit there and tell whatever. It's for your audience. That is why you run it. It's for your audience, right? You are there to lead them. That is what you are. You are a leader, right? One thing also you mentioned, so that is number one, storytelling. That is one reason this was so successful. We really digged into Josephine's stories and pulled out the components. The other thing, biggest mistake that a lot of people do, and you did it before, right? I cut you off multiple times, and we really focus on what you actually teach, over teaching. And it's not that you shouldn't teach at all. It's just that overwhelming or over teaching is the biggest mistake that we do, especially in shorter events. So can you share a little bit about that part in the masterclass we did now compared to the others, the teaching part of your presentation?
Yeah, so we had identified 5 topics very early on that we wanted to give with them, and what we did then was to break down these pieces. How do they fit into the whole thing, and to focus on certain structures in those 5 bullet points, to make sure that we give the 5 bullet points because they are really needed, but at the same time we don't give away too much, because let's be honest here, it's also about, like, we do want to have clients in the end. We want to have the right clients in the end, because we don't do this for fun. It's not a hobby for us. We do this because we want to help more people, and we can only help more people when we make more money, right? So it's like that is the whole piece of the story. And when we talk about over teaching, as you said, when you overwhelm people, Or if you think about it like a buffet, for example, you have someone is coming to a buffet and you give them the biggest plate there is, and then you say, well, go and taste a little bit of all the things we have on our table here. And they go and pick and they eat and they eat and they eat. And then you come with another plate to them and you say, okay, so now it's time for you to pay. And they were like, well, no, thank you. I'm already full. Now I can, I'm kind of full. I don't need to eat the next week almost. Like, so think of it in that terms, to give them bits and pieces that they really need, but at the same time, do not fill them. That is not the intention here. The intention is to give them a flavor of you, who you are, what it is that you know, so that you can create the like and trust that you actually can help them to take them from where they are to where they want to be. Because let's also be really honest here. The people that get the best results, my people who get the best results are my clients. It's not those that have attended all of my free workshops and events and things like that. I follow up with the people that have attended the events and I say, so how are you getting on? Have you been able to implement what we taught? Every time I followed up with them, they said, no, something came in between, or, everything has been so busy and whatever. And it's like the people who really invest, they are the people that will also get the results. And I think that is also very, very important to remember. So by over teaching, you're not doing them a favor, actually. You're doing them can you say disfavor? I don't know if you say that, but yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that is key.
Yeah, and we have kind of two things when it comes to overteaching. First of all, the ones that Josefine talked about, you teach so much how-to content that they actually think, oh, okay, I'm going to go out and try this first, then I'm going to invest, right? And we all know that you can only teach so much in a free workshop, that they are going to go out and probably be able to implement some, but it's not really going that kind of work, right? But you kind of lose them there because they think that, okay, I got enough, I'm going to go out and execute on this, then I'm going to come back. That is how you know you taught too much how-to content inside of your masterclass, right? But I would say an even bigger problem in this is that you are going to overwhelm them. You have, let's say, 1 hour, and out of that hour, you maybe teach for 40 minutes, for an example. In 40 minutes, you can only put so much information before you overload their brains, and they're just sitting there thinking, oh my God, I don't even know where to start. They are not going to invest because they're already overwhelmed and they just can't take anymore. Right? So you want to understand when it comes to the teaching part of a webinar, it's not about throwing massive amount of how-to content. It's to lead them into a decision, to make them understand what they need to do and why they need to do it. Right? With your stories, with your expertise, with your knowledge, with how you lead and how you show up. There are so many components. We can't go into all of them, right? But it's really a huge thing when people overteach. And I know it's a fine line to walk on, right? It's easy to end up overteaching, right? So and if you are going to do it, I have done it multiple times. I'm just going to be honest, it even happens now because I get so excited about the topic that I just go with the flow. But there needs to be structure.
Which is the reason why it was so good to have you, because one key that you and I did, we did a dry run where you really pulled me back.
Yes.
And I think that was probably a huge piece, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of drive, it was a long dry run, but immediately I kind of stopped you, right? We talked about everything inside that, stop, no, let's go back. I didn't understand that. So I could actually see it from a point where I was, since I was your dream client or almost, right? I was sitting as a dream client. And if I don't get it, no one else is going to get it. I can promise you, right? So that was a really good way of actually doing it. And of course, we need the years of expertise to kind of do that, right? But over teaching, biggest mistake. So storytelling, well, understand how to tell stories that actually convert people instead of just babbling about stories, right? Not over teaching in the aspect of giving away too much so they don't need you, but also in the aspect of overwhelming your audience. Biggest mistake you can absolutely do. The last kind of no, two more things I actually have, because I wanted to talk a little bit about selling the transitioning that happens. Because when you teach, when you do webinars just to teach your audience, you end up teach, awkward pitch. So it becomes like an awkward shift, both in energy, but also you feel awkward, the entire audience feel awkward. And we really looked at the entire kind of bridge into the offer. So can you talk a little bit about that, Josefine? I know that that wasn't new for you because you have done that all the time, but maybe in this short period, like a 1 hour.
Yeah, so before I've done like multi-day events, and then you usually teach like when you do like a 3, 4, 5 day, you teach at least 1 day, 2 days maybe, and then you open cart later, like day 3 or day 4, depending on how long the events are. But so that kind of gives you like a safe cushion the first 2 days. But when you do a shorter masterclass, you know that somewhere you are going to open up the doors to your offer for the first time. And this was, as we said, this was the very first time we held a masterclass. This was the very first time that we even kind of like made this offer for this offer. We hadn't even built the offer when we made the offer. So that was very kind of like exciting, but also a little bit nervous, because that is kind of, will we get this offer validated? Yes or no? And by validated, we mean, is one person going to buy it? Not for free, or not saying, yeah, I would be interested maybe if you help me for free. No, but are you going to be able to sell the offer? And when you get one person to buy it, you can get 1,000 people to buy it, right? But so that was a little bit nervous. And the key here is to make sure that you don't, as you say, you don't teach, whoop, offer, here we go. Oh, now we're doing the sales here. But you make sure that it's actually a smooth transition. You're selling from the very first beginning. You're selling from the moment you open. In our case, we open up the Zoom, because that is where the connection starts. Are you building the know, like, and trust already from the beginning? Are you making sure that you're seeding a little bit like about the offer, about your testimonials, about whatever it might be throughout the whole presentation? Because it's not as if you can teach for, let's say, 35, 40 minutes, and then you open cart, and that is the moment when you give kind of tell them about the offer. You need to make sure that flows. And it's actually, from a host perspective or from a service provider perspective, it's also so much more easier. It doesn't, like, I remember the very first time that I was going to make an offer, and I had a really great coach by then, and I said, oh my God, and now today I'm going to open cart. And she was like, yeah, but do you force them to buy from you? And I was like, no, of course I don't. But it takes time to get into that feeling of you're actually making someone a service to come and join you so that you can help them solve their problem. And that was I've never held a masterclass, to be honest, before. So by having this masterclass the very first time, and it was so successful, we got 16 new amazing clients to an offer that we hadn't even built yet, right? So that is kind of like such a validation of how both the masterclass process works, but also how the building the right offer for the right people works.
Yeah, so many kind of nuggets there. And one thing that I kind of want to go back a little bit to is what you said, that you sell from the moment you start. So the biggest mistake that you can do is thinking of your sales as a pitch in the end of the webinar. That is how you lose people, because what happens is that everything is going to shift in that moment. You get nervous, the audience pull back, everything. If you think about that, the audience journey actually starts when you start speaking to them. Your stories is going to drive them into a decision. You are going to lead them into a decision with your stories, with your conviction, with your beliefs, with the way that you show up. And so if you kind of switch and think about the service perspective of this, that it's going to feel totally natural to say to people, okay, if you love this, come and join me. This is how you can continue working with me. It's going to feel so much different, and it's going to build a smooth bridge. And we need to leave the pitching in 2000, I would say 2019, but that is not, we can't do that, but we need to leave the pitching in 2000. It's not a pitch, it's an invitation. It's an opportunity for them to continue to grow with you. And the ones that enrolled in this new offer, they are now joining you and following you, and you are leading them. That is what you want to build from the moment you start, not as an awkward pitch in the end of the webinar. And that is also for all kinds of events, but especially in these short events where you have everything in 1 hour. Okay. And that leads us to the fourth thing that I wanted to talk about is the confidence.
Can I just quickly add one thing, Angela? So to make just one kind of change that I need to make is that I had one person that I took through the whole process, one paying client that I took through the whole person, and I used that one client as a case study throughout the whole presentation. So it is easier when you do have results from what it is that you want to share with people afterwards. But the very, very, very first time I held a launch, I didn't have that. So, and yet I got, I think at the time, seven clients joining that offer. But it's like, it's easier when you have results already, but this can also work, or this also does work when you don't have the results already. Because one of my clients followed the exact same process, and she got 8 clients on her very first offer that she hadn't built yet. So the process works independently if you have like clients that you've taken through the process already or not. So that I just wanted to add that too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that is a really important thing. That is why I don't speak about clients' result. You don't hear me speak anything about sharing your clients' result stories because you might not have them. We talk about your stories. We're not talking about your testimonials part, because if you don't have that, you don't have that. Okay, you can't make up testimonials, right?
No.
So that is why we haven't talked about that, because you as a listener, you might not even have that. So what I say your stories, your conviction, your beliefs, you as a leader, that is your stories. This is the same thing if you have hundreds of clients, if you have 0 clients, it works the same way, right? But when you do have clients, do we share those stories as well? Of course, right? But I don't want to confuse you in this. We are not talking about client stories, okay? So so when it comes to what we talked about, you leading them and you kind of want to make them take a decision at the end, it's all about kind of confidence. And I know confidence is something that you grow. That is why the signature part again is so important, because confidence comes from having competence around something. And you cannot be competent in doing something if you don't do it all over, right? You don't have people that were the fastest in the world started out being the fastest in the world. This takes time. So I just want to mention that before we go into this, because Josefine has done a lot of events. But in the way that you show up throughout the event as a leader, that is one of the key points when it comes to do any kind of presentation. And I usually say you need to show up as a confidence as a leader, right? You lead your audience, but also having confidence that your offer is amazing. Because if you don't have that, no one is going to have confidence in your offer if you don't believe in your offer. No one is going to believe in your offer if you don't believe in your offer. And this was a new offer for you. It was a new topic. You haven't kind of taught this topic. It has been with your clients. You have helped your clients, but you haven't had a specific offer around the topic that you run your workshop and the offer that you sold. But you still could hold up the energy and the confidence, because you believe that you actually can help your clients, right? So can you share a little bit about how you kind of felt throughout the entire masterclass, the entire process as a leader, even if this was a totally new offer?
So I of course I was nervous. I'm always nervous doing these things. Not about kind of like, because I love it. They also give me energy, so I'm super energized about these things. But of course I'm nervous about what is it going to happen? Like how will someone? And as I said before, since this was a totally new offer, is someone going to even take us up on this offer? Is this going to be like a total flop, or are we going to really be able to enroll clients in this new offer? But the thing that helped me with my confidence is I know this topic. Another thing that really helped me, so we said in our last week's, if you haven't watched the last week's episode, I think it's really key that you go back and rewatch that episode or watch that episode, because as part of our lead generation, we also collected a lot of information about the people that registered for the masterclass. What were the challenges? What were the fears? What is it that they want? And by reading those things made me so confident that I can help these people. I know I've been where they are. I've been exactly where they are. And I know how to help them to get over to the other side. Sounds a little bit, but to the bridge, to get over on the other side. And that helped me build my confidence. We also, since I also played through, we did a dry run a week and a half something before we actually did the masterclass. That also gave me confidence. So it's about the preparation. It's about kind of knowing who your ideal clients are. And you've said it a couple of times, Angela, but I think it's really important to repel those that aren't your ideal clients. You don't want to work with everyone, because you are not for everyone and everyone is not for you, and that is okay, right? So that you get to talk to the people that you really love. And we connected with the people before and during the masterclass and even after the masterclass. And by having it on Zoom, you also get to build a connection with the people who are in the Zoom room with you. So that also gives me confidence. I can pick up on people that I know from there and kind of make it much more personal. And I think that is also key, to not just sit there like a robot and trying to get over your message as soon as and fast as possible, and then hope that then you make the pitch, and then you hope that, oh shit, no one bought, right? But it's like, what is the whole process? What is the energy that you bring into the room? And I think that is actually key.
Absolutely. And I usually say it's not so much what you do as it is who you are when you do it. And virtual event is where your energy, your expertise, and the way that you are really kind of connect with people, and that is going to be why people invest in you. And if you come off as not believing in yourself or believing in your offer, it's going to have a lower conversion rate. That is totally fine in the beginning, because it's going to happen. Don't feel like you need to be confident and have everything before you do this. No, you need to start. That is why I say to you, running the reps. Every athlete out there became the best by running the reps. They didn't wake up fastest in the world. They actually trained for years before they became the fastest in the world. So it's not going to be like you show up the first time ever in your first ever masterclass having the confidence. That is not going to happen. And it's totally fine. And you need to let it take some time, because it will take time. But you can also look at yourself and understand that the way that you help people, that needs to be really rooted inside here. Be confident about you, how you help people, the reason why you do it, and everything behind it, because that is going to help you, even if you do this for the very first time. Because if you don't believe in yourself, that is when people are not going to kind of believe in you. It's obvious, right? So I usually say that you want to be a leader, because when people stand up and speak, we all automatically see them as leaders. Be that leader, right? People signed up to hear you. They are there because of you. Lead them. And it's totally fine. It's not going to happen the first time, okay? So we have kind of identified, when it comes to the shifters in the presentation, if you look back to a lot of webinars, it's storytelling, how to tell stories, how to tell relevant stories, how to tell kind of decision-making stories, right? Over teaching. The way that we teach has completely changed in any kind of virtual event. A smooth transitioning into the offer, and also confidence, right? In the way that how you show up. Those are the 4 biggest shifters that we did, for an example, in Josephine's masterclass. Anything last things that you kind of want to add? when it comes
I
to
did
the
screw up. I did screw up. I did a tech mistake. Luckily, I had no clue about it during the masterclass, and that is okay, right? Could it have? I managed to limit the number of people that could join us live. However, that doesn't kill anyone. It just kind of like makes us stronger. Will we do that mistake? Will I do that mistake again? Never, ever. You know, mistakes happen. That is okay. I've held master classes or events where I didn't press the recording button. Shit happen. Sorry for saying that, but it does happen.
Yeah.
And that is okay. We learn from each and everything. We are not perfect. No one is perfect. Just go for it. And rewatch this thing, rewatch the thing that we shared last week already, because there are so many nuggets in these what we share with you here. Take that with you. Yeah, I just wanted to add that too.
But I love that. And the thing why I love virtual events is that it's messy, right? It's you showing up. You can't kind of be something we are not. And for me, for an example, I want to inspire people that they can do this without kind of being perfect. So why would I try to be perfect? Things is going to happen. I also miss press recording. I have been kicked out of Zoom. I'm going to share this. I did an interview with Amy Porterfield. What did Zoom do? Kicked me out, right? I just joined. I mean, it doesn't matter. That is the beauty by it. It just doesn't matter. No one is going to care. We make it so, oh, it needs to be in a specific thing. It needs to be perfect. I need to look perfect. Now the sun is coming here. And that kind of prevents it. That just doesn't. They love to see you, and you should just embrace that, okay? And things happen like Josefine. So everybody that wanted to join couldn't join live. It was okay. Okay, we just do it differently the next time. Okay, it's not the end of the world. We just run the reps and we learn from the mistakes that we have done. Every mistake is an opportunity to learn, right?
Yeah.
So yes, it was a good ending to everybody that feels a little bit scared. Okay, no one cares. And you see now the sun is coming, so I start with so I wanted to also invite everyone. So I'm hosting a free training about the changes that we have done and that we have seen needs to be done when it comes to running shorter event like 1 hour masterclasses and webinars. And that is the Sell with Webinars Evolution training. So I want you to click on the link. I'm going to share the link below and join us, because we're, of course, going to talk about how to fill it, how to do the lead generation, how to actually fill a virtual event with the right people, how to execute on the event, how to do the presentation, like the things that we talked about today, but more in depth, and also how to sell. We haven't talked almost anything about that, how to actually sell from an event, how to actually make the selling part feel easy and smooth and all those kind of things. But I'm also going to talk about all the changes you need to do and that you want to do in all your presentations, not only in webinars, but all your presentation challenges, workshop that you need to implement in 2024 to not turn them into crickets, okay? So make sure that you do sign up on that training. The link is going to be below, and it's a free training, okay? It's a free training, so come and join us. Josefine is going to be there, and I am going to be there to talk about all this more in depth, okay? Because I know this is kind of limited time here, so and I have so much to say about this. I'm going to try not to overdo the teaching, okay? So thank you so much, Josefine. It has been lovely to have you with me for these 2 weeks, and you're going to see more of Josefine. So come and join us in the training that I host, and the link is below. So thank you, everyone, and I'm going to see you next week. So take care. Bye.